Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Allie. How are you?
Tired
Yeah.
in more way than one.
Yeah.
So this is a special mini episode of Hot Girls Hockey that we decided to record last minute. Shannon, unfortunately, wasn't able to join us because this was just kind of a spur of the moment thing, but she's, staying updated. Without any preamble, should we just get into it?
Yeah. By now, I'm sure you've heard about the update in regards to the Hockey Canada investigation. As of today, January 24th, 5 of the Canadian World Junior team accused of involvement with the June 2018 sexual assault of a 20-year-old woman in London, Ontario, have been ordered to surrender themselves to London police. We know this news has been anticipated by New Jersey Devils fans, as throughout the investigation, there's been speculation about Devils players Michael McLeod and Cal Foote, who was traded to the team this past summer.
So this is something we wanted to talk about, or at least I feel like we have to talk about, because when we started this podcast, what you and I and Shannon really wanted was to create this space where hockey fans of any type, but particularly really like girls and women and just female hockey fans, could feel like they belong, a place where you'd have a podcast that you could relate to. And I think we've always tried to be ourselves and not shy away from incorporating aspects of our fan experience that others might consider too girly. And I feel that, I feel very strongly about promoting a space where female hockey fans can be heard, particularly because as far as we know, we are the only female-run New Jersey Devils podcast. And for that reason, I think we'd be doing a disservice to all of the women and girls who follow and support us by at least not trying to comment on the situation.
Absolutely. And at the risk of re-traumatizing anyone who may be listening to this episode, we don't want to break down all of the accusations made, since discussions of sexual assault can obviously be very painful to relive. I encourage anyone who might be distressed by the information coming out to just please do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. The short explanation is that in April 2020, an unidentified woman filed a claim against Hockey Canada and the Canadian Hockey League, alleging she was a victim of sexual assault that took place on June 19th, 2018, during a Hockey Canada Foundation charity golf event. Up to 8 members of the 2018 World Junior Hockey team were accused of involvement, and with reportedly enough evidence now to arrest 5 of them.
So among the accused were New Jersey Devils players Michael McLeod and Cal Foote. Something I really want all of our listeners to know is that back before we even started this podcast, the 3 of us sat down and specifically had a conversation about how we were going to discuss Michael McLeod on the podcast. And bear in mind, at that time, Cal Foote hadn't been traded to the team yet, but this also extends to him. We had gone through a lot of articles and online information, back when much of this was just rumors. And I feel like the 3 of us all pretty much agreed that there was enough information to at least suggest that McLeod may have likely been involved with the assault. Something that I always particularly found distressing was that photo that was posted on McLeod's Instagram the same day of the assault that showed him in what presumed to be the hotel where the incident took place. But the problem, of course, is that none of the accused had officially been named by the investigation. And technically, as of recording this podcast, still haven't formally been named. So despite the fact that we had some pretty strong concerns, we decided to play it kind of neutral on the podcast and really only ever discussed our concerns or suspicions privately.
But today, after the announcement was made that 5 of the accused were being called to surrender to the police, Michael McLeod and Cal Foote were notably absent from morning practice. And shortly thereafter, the New Jersey Devils announced that they had both been granted indefinite leaves of absence without further comment, which we and many believe unofficially confirms their involvement. The 3 other players suspected to be involved who went on leave of absence from their teams today were Alex Formenton, Carter Hart, and Dylan Dubé.
So I don't know about you, but my immediate emotional response to this is relief. Partly relief that we as fans no longer have to wonder, but more importantly, this relief that the victim might finally get some sense of justice. I think it's important to remember that when this woman initially brought her accusation of sexual assault to Hockey Canada, they actually responded by paying her off with a monetary settlement. And I just, it's incredibly infuriating. And the only word I can use is shameful that an organization as powerful as Hockey Canada could respond to such a serious claim by attempting to sweep it under the rug. I don't know how else to say this except that the victim deserves better. She deserves to have her claim taken seriously, and the perpetrators deserve to be brought to justice, regardless of who they are or how well they play hockey. The best possible outcome for the investigation, I think, would be for this unnamed woman to get some form of healing. The victim has, to this point, chosen to stay private. We don't know her identity, which I think is completely understandable, and I hope it provides her some protection in this difficult process. But one thing I've been worried about seeing much of the social media response to this news today is that she kind of gets lost and forgotten in the conversation. I understand why a lot of fans of the suspected players are upset, but I think it's important to remember that it's not about them. It's about doing right by her. I think it's possible to condemn the actions of these players at the same time as mourning what may have been. And I don't want people who previously considered themselves fans of these players to now feel shame and guilt, because you're not responsible for their actions. But to a certain degree, I think we are all responsible for holding them accountable. It's incredibly brave and difficult for the victim to make her accusations. And if the perpetrators suffer consequences, it's not because of the victim's accusation. It's because of the perpetrator's actions. At the end of the day, they're responsible for what they did.
And I do think that there is some guilt that lies within the organizations, particularly Hockey Canada, that enabled these players' behavior. As a Devils fan, it's hard not to be frustrated with members of administration who may have suspected McLeod and Foot's alleged involvement and still chose to support them anyway. To close this out, obviously information is still coming out regarding the investigation, and no one, as of recording this episode, has been formally arrested. So for legal reasons, we do have to keep saying things like alleged and suspected. This is by no means a comprehensive overview of the situation, but we encourage everyone to seek out official reports as more details will come in.
The London police did update today that they are planning to hold a press conference on February 5th. So I guess more information will come out. And the speculation is maybe that's the date by which the players are expected to have to present themselves to police. All that being said, I really wanted to comment on this because I just kind of feel like we, as like women who are running this podcast about the Devils, have like an obligation to at least bring attention to the issue. We're not exactly sure how much we'll continue to talk about the investigation in our regular episodes. As you can tell, this is very different from our normal laid back style. And that's just because this is a very serious subject. But we just hope that we can keep being a place that promotes women in hockey.
Well, thank you for listening. This has been Hot Girls Hockey. Take care of yourself.
Bye.